Right. Hey, Rania, for the third episode.
Yes, I am the third guest.
You are the third guest in this new podcast called the Goodfolks. We'll only bring the good folks.
I'm offended I wasn't number one, but
Oh, well, it was Jihad.
I'll get over it. My feelings are hurt a little bit.
He's an ex-member in ABP. It's just that I really wanted to ask you something because you started your whole social media activism with videos talking about health and bodybuilding, I guess.
Yeah. Not really health. I mean, it's like a big word. I'm not a health expert, but I started. I like to think that I live a healthy lifestyle, relatively not healthy in the extreme sense, but I like to have a balanced life. I work out, I eat healthy, drink water, the minimum you could do. And that's what I started sharing. I was just sharing my daily life, and that was where I started. I still do that, but I did that mainly at first.
Yeah, that's cool. You also have a lot of clips, a lot of videos, like telling people how to eat healthy, how to train in the gym and all.
Yeah.
And I think that you're kind of like a really role model for many girls out there. And do you usually tell them that practicing sport isn't actually only for the bodybuilding, but it's also psychologically, because I think that when you work out, it also helps your self-esteem, your confidence, like how you think about yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. I always talk about this, since I also talk a lot about mental health and anxiety, since I suffer from anxiety, and I say how that has really helped me. Not only that, but when I was younger, I was bullied a lot, and that really helped me build physical strength. And then when you see what your body could do, that empowers you as a person. It empowers your mental.
How did your social anxiety manifest in your life?
I don't have social anxiety. I just have anxiety.
You had just anxiety.
No, just anxiety. I'm not like anxious around people or whatever. Okay. I'm just I have a lot of anxiety. It's just, I think that's like the disease of the generation. I think we live in a very anxious, very stressful life. I mean, add that to being in a country where everything is not that easy. Things are not easy or accessible to us. And so I think everybody at this point is anxious, and add on to that COVID-19 and what that has done to our mental health. So obviously I've always suffered from that, and sports and living and eating healthy really affects you, because you feel like you're nourishing your body, you're doing things right, and that takes the edge off to an extent.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, a lot of women, I think that the way they try to make themselves feel good, the way they try to make themselves feel good is just by wearing nice clothes and doing makeup and just looking good.
Yeah.
But you're doing something like totally different. Like, you're not only focused on that, but you're also focused on what's interior, like inside your body. When you eat healthy, you feel good.
Yeah. By the way, am I allowed to speak in Algerian? Could we do that, or
it's like 100% English, but it's okay.
Like, it's 100% English. Oh, because
it's right. It's okay.
Okay, it's fine, because I don't know. In my podcast, I always try to use the most Algerian, and so I didn't know if this was like a Darja/English podcast or an English podcast. So it's just strictly English.
It's an English podcast, but it's okay. If there is something that you think it's more expressive when you speak it, because our audience are Algerians.
Yeah, no, it's cool. We can keep it English and maybe throw some Darja here and there. Sorry, what was the question? It was about the kind of content that I do. Yeah, for me, it's like I want to do what I don't see done. That's why I kind of see myself as like a gap influencer. When I started doing, even when I talk about health and nutrition and stuff, not health, God, that's a big word, maybe fitness and nutrition and stuff, I didn't see a lot of girls doing what I did, because I like to go to the gym and lift heavy and kind of do things that are maybe traditionally male. Like, girls are afraid of lifting weights and doing things like that. So I wanted to do that. And when it comes to makeup and clothes, I think most girls love that. I love that. But I see it talked about a lot. So what is the point of me coming and doing more of that? So I wanted to offer something that's not out there. And that's what I see like Algerian social media needs. It's more diversity. It's more things that are not seen. And as you said, when people see this, they're like, oh, this is interesting. Not every girl is the same, and not every Algerian is the same. And it helps them open their mind. It helps them maybe be themselves, because in such a collectivist, conformist society, everyone feels the need to be the same to fit in. And when you show them something different, it's like, I can do what I want and be different and be okay and be cool and be liked. So.
Did you have experience like with the people on social media or online, or maybe just like in real life, who try to always categorize you and put you in a certain category without knowing much about you?
Yeah, absolutely. That happens a lot. A lot of people assume like I'm a rich girl, and I don't know. Maybe because I defend capitalism a lot. People just assumed like for some reason I'm rich, which is insane because Karl Marx was from a rich family. But I think, yeah, people have their assumptions about me, or because we have this thing in Algeria that if you don't have a good life, you're supposed to complain all the time. You're supposed to be negative all the time.
Exactly.
And you're not supposed to have hope. You're not supposed to fight. You're not supposed to laugh and be okay. Like if you have it bad, you're supposed to just always be bad and always complain and want to leave and be negative. So I think when people see that I'm not negative and that despite everything, I try to do my best and I try to look at the positive things and have hope for this country and have hope for our people will be like, well, you just think like this because you have it easy. I'm like, trust me, if I don't have it easy. I've never had it easy. And again, I'm not going to sit here and talk about the bad things in my life because that's almost like justifying. And I don't want to do that. I don't really share a lot about my personal life and my family and stuff. And so people are always going to have their own ideas about you. And there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, definitely. Like especially when it comes to like when people see like a lot of positive attitude that comes from you, they think that everything is cool in your life.
Yeah, thank you. They think that.
And sometimes like it's no, like I have a lot of problems. It's just that I try to keep it positive, probably because it's
I keep it pushing.
Good.
Yeah, this is the thing about you have to keep it pushing. I've had times where I was teaching, and during the break I go to the bathroom and cry for the whole break and come back and clear and wipe my tears and be super joyful to my students. And I always do that again on social media. Like that is life. I think a lot of these kids don't realize that life is not fair, life is hard, and you can either cry about it or you can cry about it, but also try to do your best.
Yeah, I mean, people judge a lot based on what they see. They don't, because there are many inherent things that they don't see. Maybe because, like, I don't know, maybe, do you find people telling you that you're arrogant or something because they see you cheerful and you're like, you have the positive attitude and you're like
I don't think they think, I think, yeah, I'm sure some people do think I'm arrogant, but I think that is the most used criticism in Algeria. Everyone is accused of being arrogant. Everyone is accused of thinking more about themselves than they are. And I think that's because we live in such a closed-off society where we're not used to seeing people out there, period. That, you know, every influencer out there, every Algerian known person is accused of being arrogant and being full of themselves. And I mean, I can only speak for myself. I've always, maybe I give off that vibe. I might understand it. I do give off like a bratty vibe. I understand that. But if you actually follow me and you see the things I promote and the things I defend,
you get a totally different idea.
You get a totally different idea. I'm always the one that's always, you know, trying to bring people together, try to calm things down. We've had a lot of things, you know, instances and crises in the past year, and I've always tried to be the bigger head, and I try to bring people together because I feel like that's the most important thing is unity and believing the best about each other and giving each other the benefit of the doubt, which you don't do that when you're arrogant. If you're arrogant and self-centered, then you just think, you know, I'm right and I have it right. And there were things where I believed things. I'm not sure if I should give examples, but during the elections there was a lot of division, and I was of a certain point of view. But I encouraged people to accept the opposing view and to not attack them and to not call them names.
But sometimes it's just people, they have this tendency to divide each other and to attack each other instead of having like a healthy debate and have a good conversation online. They just have this tendency to come up with names against the other group and then laugh about them and then make lies about them and then the other group feels offended and they do the same and
it's
it
tribalism.
gets messed up. Yeah, tribalism, exactly.
It's I've talked about this yesterday in my life. I did a live yesterday. I was like, it's insane. Like how we have come so far, yet are acting so primitive and so barbaric. And all of that has come to us from social media, especially Twitter. It's really almost like a war for attention, and a war for saying the most shocking thing that's gonna get you retweets. And sometimes people are like, they feel the need to be offended, and they feel the need to be outraged, and they need to say the most radical thing to be a normal. In fact, that's not the normal. That's really the format that is forcing you to behave this way, and you need to be aware of that. There is this girl, I guess she's actually a stylist, but she's also has been really active in talking about this Twitter culture and calling out culture. Her name is Aisha Akambi. She's Nigerian British, and she really talks a lot about the mentality that we've adopted. I guess the West mainly adopted, but we were influenced by it due to globalization and to social media being so open, which is this need to always be offended and to always take things to the next level, because there's a need to perform almost on social media. You know, let's say I have a difference of opinion with you. If it's really about the opinion and the dialogue, I would just come to you privately and talk about it, no? But what if I take a 30-second clip of your video, post it on my page, and say, look how stupid Wahib is. Look at what he's saying. Why would I do that? Is it because I'm interested in dialogue, or is it because I'm performing for the followers?
You're interested in like attention and provoking, making the other person feel bad. Like you want to crash them.
Virtue signaling. It's virtue signaling. I want to make you look bad and make me look good. Make you look stupid and make me look smart. But if I were actually interested in tolerance and in these good values that these people claim to defend, that would not be the behavior.
Do you think that many people and many influencers online, they're doing that? Like they're getting into that?
Yeah, a lot of that has become the norm, unfortunately. And because their followers, I think all followers applaud them for it. A lot of my followers tell me, you know, go attack that person and go drag that person and go brdiri qalbi, as we say, in that person. And yeah, a lot of followers incite that behavior because
it's enjoyable, it's entertaining.
It's so enjoyable.
Yeah, it's entertaining.
I mean, I follow drama on social media, especially like the makeup community, they always have drama, and it's so entertaining to follow. But it is dangerous behavior. It's a slippery slope, and we can't be having this or things turn into a mess. As we see in the West, people are getting fired, people are having their lives,
culture.
Yeah, having their lives ruined for nothing, and that is in an organized society. So imagine the impact that it would have on our society, which is already chaotic. I mean, it is really, if we go through this path, it is going to be a mess. It's really going to be a mess, and I'm afraid of that. So we need to be aware. I think, thank God, there's a lot of reasonable voices here that are aware of this issue and speak out against it, and I'm optimistic.
It has always fascinated me when people like do not live up to the values that they're promoting online. Like for example, they're always promoting something like we need to like tolerance, understanding, we need progress and everything else like that's similar to this. But when they're in a problem, when they have a backlash with someone else, they don't act like an adult. They just let their emotions go, and they it's just crazy. And then you got the followers of the person A attacking the followers of person B.
It's tribalism.
Yeah, exactly.
It is exactly.
People have this need like to feel that they want to belong to a community. They need a community, they need friends who
Which
share
is
the
normal.
same values, which is normal. Yeah. But he just, I don't know how to fix that.
At what expense? I mean, just think, am I a part of a community because that's actually good and we have a good impact? Or am I just doing this because a lot of people, especially in Algeria, I keep saying this, especially in Algeria, because if the West has it bad, we have it 1,000 times worse, and we have a lot of issues and oppression, which causes a lot of, just a lot of issues that are being manifested on social media, because people cannot manifest them in real life. They're so oppressed in their real life that they could feel like they could say whatever they want and take it out on other people behind a fake image and a fake name. And so a lot of the times I take maybe bad comments as a way to understand society and a way to understand how people are thinking and kind of, you know, dig
but
deeper.
Sometimes I don't think sometimes they're thinking. Sometimes they just want to rest. They just want to have fun. Like they got nothing to do and they go online and they're like, screw you. I don't know you, but I don't like you.
Yeah. But I think if you ask, and I've seen this before, like if you ask maybe a group of people, what do you think of Rania Bencroft, for example, you will have completely opposing opinions. Like you'll have people saying, I love her because she's so tolerant, and then people will tell you, I hate her because she's so close-minded and she thinks her opinion is the only right opinion.
Yeah.
So you'll have completely contradicting opinions about the same person. And here, the opinions say more about the person saying them than it does about me. I guess these two people see me through their lens and through their worldview and through what they think is right and what should happen and shouldn't. So I take that into perspective a lot.
Yeah, maybe it's also because internet is so new to Algerians. It hasn't been a long time since they've been using internet.
Sure.
The internet is old here in Algeria. I think that, this idea of everyone has Facebook on their phone, everyone can comment. They're still new, so they're still acting probably immature. Because I personally, sometimes when I think about myself, I've made a lot of mistakes online. I attacked people without knowing much about them. I don't know, and when that happened to me, I felt like,
You felt it.
Yeah, exactly. I felt it because some people they attack us, for example, in Algerian Black Pearl, for things that they have no. You see the noise? Okay. Yeah, without knowing much about us, without knowing much about what we do or the efforts that we make. But now it's like I try not to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me more about what are the things that you tried to promote and change in Algeria, the issues that you see are so
so pressing.
Yeah.
I think there's a huge list, but I would say the first thing would be accepting difference of opinion. Accepting different opinions. I think that is number one. And that is such a cliche statement that everybody uses. Everybody says they want that. But when actually faced with an opposing opinion, they don't behave the way that they're supposed to behave because it's such a challenging thing to do. And things can get emotional, especially if the issue is racial or gender or regional in our case. Things start to get really touchy and people just close their minds and say, no, I want that person punished for saying the things they did. And so, because that is, freedom of speech is really a culture, it has to be embedded in people's minds and lives. And it takes, I would say, generations to get to that point. Because even people in the West who are far more advanced have an issue with this. A lot of people are having an issue with this and are trying to suppress freedom of speech. So for me, that is number one, which is really trying to make people understand that they have to accept all opinions. And because freedom of speech is not so you could say, I like pizza. Freedom of speech exists so you can say provocative opinions that are offensive, that the majority of people will not like. And that's really where I guess things suck, which is that is freedom of speech. We have to accept all opinions, whatever it is that I want to say and whatever it is that the person I absolutely detest wants to say.
Right.
That's the downside, but that is it. It's a package deal. You take it or leave it. You don't take it when it's convenient for you and abandon it when it's not. So for me, that's one. Number two, I would like people to be more stoic, more logical.
But aren't you worried about how people use freedom of speech? Because that's the thing.
What do you mean?
For example, I can give you an example of something else. A lot of people, a lot of photographers want to, for example, import drones in Algeria.
Yes.
But drones are illegal. You can't import them from abroad. And when you talk to people who are in the field, they say that the reason drones are illegal is because lots of Algerians would use them in the wrong way.
Yeah.
They'd probably fly them in the balcony of someone else to see a woman of someone else and capture them. So it's even the use of freedom, they use it in a very toxic way, and it brings problems. And so. And so people would be like, no, just forbid that, don't let that happen.
But okay, that's a reasonable concern, but then again, that's a lot of parenting. The government is not supposed to parent people and ban things just because they could be misused. I mean, when I buy a knife, I could use that knife to slaughter people, but it's a knife and people need it to do many things, and so you cannot ban it at the possibility of people using it to do a bad way. I mean, there has to be, I guess, reasonable doubt that something would happen. In the case of drone, I mean,
No,
where else is it banned? Where else are drones banned?
No, that's just one example, just an example of like a freedom of speech. Sometimes the tool is good. There is nothing wrong with the tool, but how you use the tool. And then some people use the tool differently than other people.
Yeah, but how you use the tool is, I mean, when someone says something offensive or outrageous, you could disagree with them. If you're a private company, you could fire them. You can do whatever you want with that person. We're just saying don't take them to prison. That's what the freedom of speech is. We're saying do not punish them legally and do not attack them physically. Do not kill them. Do not harm them. Do not harm their safety. Do not harm their children. That's what we're saying. Don't throw eggs at them when they walk down the street. But we're not saying don't oppose them. We're not saying don't boycott them. You can, in a civilized way, show your discontent with their speech.
Yeah, argue back.
Thank you. You fight bad speech with better speech. You don't fight it with less speech and censorship. And it just doesn't work. I mean, the more censorship, the more oppression, the more you're just gonna get people angry, and it's gonna be like you're just pushing and
the cycle continues.
And one day they're going to implode, and you're gonna see horrific things. So we don't want that. We want people to be comfortable.
Did you see how people are reacting online to Mahrez kissing his girlfriend?
Unfortunately, yes. I saw that. There was a podcast, I think it was the one with Jihad, where we talked about, did you see that lady who kissed her husband's foot on national TV?
Yeah, I did that.
And everyone, mostly liberals, they were like outraged, like how would she kiss the feet of her husband? Like, I don't care. I would kiss my husband's feet outside. Like, I don't mind that. What bothered me was that if she had kissed him in his face, it would have been completely outrageous. And that's what people are proving with Mahrez, is that, I mean, he's kissing his girlfriend. What is the issue with this? He's doing it outside. He's not doing it on the football field or even in Algeria for you to mind this. He's doing this in a completely liberal society.
Maybe they think of him as a role model. They think a role model for Algerians and the culture and everything. Now they're like angry, like you do not represent us. That's not how we want to be represented.
Yeah, but Riyad Mahrez did not grow up in Algeria.
Exactly.
He didn't grow up in Algeria. He never had an Algerian upbringing. I mean, to whatever extent an Algerian upbringing could be in France. I think he grew up in France, right?
No, I did not.
No, he grew up in France.
Yeah, he did.
He did.
You're asking me.
No.
Of course I did not.
No, you grew up with me. We went to high school together, by the way. So, of course, people have to understand this. It's like our entire football team have tattoos and live a very Western life. So you can't not expect them to live like you do. And people, I hated that they put the contrast of him in Hajj and then him kissing his girlfriend. Like, you guys, like, that's his personal life. I mean, why would you get in the middle of that? I would be appalled if someone shows to be religious but then harms people. If it turns out that he went to Hajj but rapes people or steals or is unethical, that's what would bother me. But what he does with his girlfriend on his own time in his own life does not concern me. It does not affect me in any way, shape, or form. So why should I?
I think that's the problem. The problem isn't like, I mean, like sometimes we don't care if he does good thing or bad thing. Like in our, of course, we care when he does a good thing. We celebrate and everything. Yeah. But if he does a bad thing, why am I supposed to be angry?
Yeah,
like, it's him. It's not me.
Exactly. Do you believe in like separating the artist from the art, or how do you feel about that idea? Like, do you like Mommy? Do you like Shab Mommy?
I mean, I like some of his songs, but I don't take him as a role model or anything.
Yeah, no, we're not talking about role models, because people say, like, even if you listen to their music or compliment them or glorify them in any way, then you support their acts. And Mommy is pretty much a convicted felon. I mean, I would judge your ethics if the bad things you did affect others negatively. If you steal, you can't tell me it's my personal life I steal. Even if you cheat on your wife, that's still something I'm not gonna like. But like if you drink, I mean, how does that affect anything?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, it's a personal choice you do on your own time. I mean, if you're driving drunk, okay, I'm gonna have a problem. I'm going to boycott you. But again, people need to respect just personal space and personal freedom. And it doesn't mean condoning, because people confuse maybe respecting and not meddling with accepting. They say if I don't judge him drinking, that means I like it. And I'm okay with it. No, it doesn't mean. You could absolutely be against it, but not have that interfere with other things. Just, leave it in its place.
Yeah, right. So, Rania, we used to study together in high school.
Yes, we
and
did.
One of the things I used like to know about you is that you used to say about yourself that I am a proud feminist.
Yes. Well, I would like to switch that and say radical. And people know this about me. They know that I had like a very radical feminist phase, and that was when we knew each other. It was in high school.
Yeah.
I was such a different person, don't you think? I mean, you know me then and now. What would you say? Do you think I'm that different? Or?
I mean, we didn't talk since then, so
Yeah.
so I don't know. But I like since you got a little bit popular on social media, sometimes like I meet some people who mention you.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you got a community now who follows you.
Yeah, I do.
What do you call them?
Hamoudas.
Why?
Oh, it's a long story. It's not PG-13. Do you know that video of Hamouda?
Yes, Shidu told me about it last time. It was like 2 years ago, I guess.
I'm not sure how old that video was, but it was like this little kid just screaming his brains out. I don't know, you have to see it. It's not funny when I talk about it. You have to see it.
All right.
But yeah, definitely, I was a total radical feminist and very, very left in high school. And I always talk about that. I was like a Tumblr kid, and I grew out of that. You, compared to me, were pretty conservative back then, right?
Not very conservative.
Compared to me, I mean, compared to a radical feminist, anything is conservative.
Yeah, well, yeah, kind of.
Yeah, but I mean, I wonder where you stand now on most things.
I don't know. Sometimes I shift a lot. Like, do you remember when you used to say that I'm a very confused person? Like it's like sometimes.
I used to say that, yeah.
Yeah, it's just I think that we pass through some phase when we are trying like to discover ourselves.
Which I am still. I'm still trying to discover myself. I went from being very extremist in one point, or looking back on it, I think that was extremist. But my thing was you could never be extremely left. That was my logic.
Right.
It's like, what are you going to be? Too tolerant? Too liberal? That's not possible. It's like the more left you go, the better it is. But then I realized, oh shit, no, sorry, can I curse?
That's okay.
I was like, oh, there is such thing as too far, and I had to dial it back. But if I didn't go there, I would not.
What are the things that influenced you?
To stop being so radically left.
Yeah.
Just because I started, when I started growing up and I started understanding life in Algeria and what it really means, because when I was in high school I was very sheltered. I just went to school, went home. I didn't know much about life and how things work, about work, about business, about the freedoms that we don't have. And I started to see what this country really is. And I just started to see, because I was very influenced by Western leftists, obviously, and I started to see them as very spoiled kids who have nothing better to do than complain about things.
Maybe because
all
you
day.
expanded your knowledge, especially
Yes.
in that field. You started
Yeah.
following more what's happening out there.
Yes,
I think that,
yeah.
like,
But it was mostly Algeria. I started to see that I am really in a third world country that is really struggling and really behind. And I'm worried about cultural appropriation. Really? Is that a reasonable issue to be concerned about when you're at the very bottom? It just seemed like, not all ideologies are as good in every place.
Yeah.
Maybe in a specific time, specific place, that's the ideology to have. But in my context,
Yeah,
that
that's a
is
good idea.
not the ideology to have. It just doesn't correspond with what we need as a society.
you cannot copy something from somewhere that worked somewhere and you expect that it's going to work.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean we shouldn't observe, because observing helps us learn. I mean, whatever, it's observing the past. Well, you
Yeah.
can't observe the past, but you can study the past and observe. The West, for me, is like observing the future, because we're just like 15 years behind, and we're trying to catch up with technology, with everything,
Yeah.
with social justice. And for me, so seeing the West is like seeing us 50 years in the future. And I'm like, how can I avoid all the problems? How can we do this right and have a good foundation? So I like to observe, but I've learned to adapt to my societal needs.
I think that there are people who are born liberal in Algeria, and then there are people who are just born conservative based on their families.
Yeah.
But then there is like the third group is people who are just discovering. They could
Yeah.
be very liberal while their parents are very conservative, or very conservative while their
Yeah.
parents are very liberal.
Yeah.
And these people probably build that personality by themselves through discovering, through videos online, watching debates, you know, watching what's happening in society, think, read comments, comment back, see the replies, and you're thinking, you know, you're growing. And comparing between like different ideas.
Yes.
And I think also what happened in the Western countries regarding, for example, Jordan Peterson, when he was called out at the University of Toronto for not wanting to use the gender pronouns, and then
that was very influential for us, don't you think? That was very influential.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
I think it was influential for a lot of liberals because they started to see how that ideology could go so far.
Yeah.
Like it might make people so angry that they don't wanna like reason or anything. Like no, how could you refuse coming?
But again, even Jordan Peterson has to be adapted to our society, because I see a lot of people using Jordan Peterson in Algeria to
justify everything.
To dismiss feminism, to dismiss females demanding stuff. And I really hate this, because Jordan Peterson himself says that he's a second wave feminist, that he's what the criticism he gives is against third wave feminism. And I hate that whenever any woman complains about anything in Algeria, some men use the Jordan Peterson arguments against her. And I feel like that's just, again, repeating what you hear from the West. So we have to be very careful that Jordan Peterson is in a certain society, a certain country, Canada, which is like super, super left. So you cannot just use his argument on a woman in a third world country where the law clearly, you know, marginalizes her. You cannot just copy paste. We're with you that third wave feminists are just insane, and I truly believe they harm women they harm women in the third world more than they do good for them. And so we're okay with that, but don't take it to the extreme. Not every time a woman opens her mouth you use some Jordan Peterson argument on me.
Or the third wave feminism. Like do you feel sometimes that you're associated with the third wave feminism just when you say that you're feminist?
There's definitely
because a lot of people don't know about the third wave and the second wave.
Yeah, I think feminist is really like a bad it depends where. It depends where. See, when I was calling myself a feminist, I promise you I didn't know anybody who identified as feminist, at least in Algeria.
Okay.
It started to be mainstreamed. I think it was Beyonce that started to mainstream the feminist thing, feminist t-shirts, and then it started commercializing the term feminist. Because before that, feminist was a pretty radical word. And then now it's starting to, well, for I think the past, I don't know, 7-8 years, it really started to be normalized and commercialized. However, in Algeria, it still has a very negative connotation. Even in the West, people associate it with being just too much, being too radical.
Yeah.
And I understand that. But for me, when I do identify as a feminist in the Algerian context, and I'm not, how do you say, I'm not like worried or concerned with a negative connotation, although that it does bring me shame sometimes when I see certain Western feminist behavior. It does bring me shame that I do identify as a feminist. However, I don't get defensive. See, that's the problem, people, and this is a very important point, when people start to get very defensive about their communities, is when you harm your community the most. So because I identify as
blindly defensive.
Yes. So let's say I'm a feminist, and Wahib says, you know what, you feminists are just so triggered and so emotional and so extreme. what do people do? The first thing is they take it as a personal offense. Like, how do you say that? Like, no, don't generalize. Not all feminists are like that. No, we're actually good. And no, you're just sexist. People get really defensive. And that really harms the cause. When you have a problem in your community, it is your duty to realize that is an issue, to confess that that is an issue, and to try to fix that issue. So if you say feminists are radicals and they're emotional, I would say, you know what? There is actually a huge chunk of feminists that are that way. However, I am a person who likes to be logical. I believe in equality of opportunity. I don't believe in any forced equality. And as a feminist, I try to get other fellow feminists into the more rational side so that we could have an equal world for men and women where everyone is living in harmony and peace.
And that's actually, you're doing so much good for the movement.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, I don't know what you think about this, but I have a friend who, I don't know when, like she complained about like feminists and that they shouldn't be the best representatives of women because sometimes they do things that are just inappropriate or something. And what I said was, you know, like instead of complaining about the movement all the time, like why don't you join the movement and try to fix it?
Yes, thank you.
Because when you leave, you keep the space only for people who are outrageous, people probably who suffered from so trauma, so that they're not thinking anymore, like they just want to like
close
to
their
fight.
heads.
Yeah, exactly. And I understand that attitude because it came from past trauma or really painful experience that made them like that. For example, they hate men. They
I
hate all
understand
men.
that too.
You know, I understand, but these are people that you shouldn't leave them alone to lead.
Exactly.
Maybe you should, like, I don't know, like you should be with them and try to do things together instead of...
And when you are with them, don't just defend whatever they do.
Exactly.
I mean, if they are irrational, then just be like, yeah, she's a fellow feminist, but she's... Yeah, I do admit that what she said was irrational, and I would like her and encourage her to be more rational, instead of mindlessly defending. I'll give you another example. Let's say, you know, you're a Muslim, okay? And I tell you, you know what? Islam is a religion of violence. Muslims are violent, and their religion is absolutely horrible. You could get up and punch me. That's one. Or you could start yelling and accuse me of Islamophobia.
I would say, why? That's what I would say.
Thank you. Okay, wait. So you could accuse me of Islamophobia and start yelling and be like, you, let's say I'm white and non-Muslim, and be like, you're just racist and you're Islamophobe, and start like attacking me, because that's literally the reaction most people would have. Most Muslims would have this reaction. However, imagine if you said, you know what? I do admit that there is an issue of violence in the Muslim community. I do admit to that. However, those violent people represent a very small minority out of the 1.5 billion Muslims. So technically, you cannot say that all Muslims are violent.
Yeah.
And as a Muslim, me and my friend and my family are very tolerant. We don't resort to violence, and we encourage other Muslims to be the way we are, and we stand in solidarity with all victims of terrorism. See, if you say something like this, so rational and so reasonable, you would make me rethink that, you know what, maybe not all Muslims are violent. But if you start accusing me of Islamophobia and screaming and yelling, then I'm just going to think you're another irrational, violent Muslim. No?
Yeah, exactly.
So sometimes defending is actually harming your argument.
Because you're approving their pre-existing ideas.
Thank you. And you're distancing yourself more from the people that you're trying to belong to. So let's say like we're living in France and I'm Christian and you're Muslim. If you start to get defensive, it's like you're dissociating yourself from being a part of this country. But if you start to say that, like, you know, all French people, you start to include yourself in the community instead of distancing yourself.
Yeah.
And that's what people like Martin Luther King really did, is say that the Constitution promises equality and promises freedom for everybody, and we have come to, what do you say, cash the check. That's what he said. We've come to cash the check and the promises of the Constitution that everybody is born equal and everybody deserves equal right. That's what he did. He brought people closer, and he said that we love this country is ours, and we want to live like everybody else, instead of what a lot of people do now, which is distance themselves more from the country. Saying the flag is offensive, saying, you know, distancing themselves more from being an American. That's an issue. You're supposed to come closer and say, I belong here and I want my rights here, instead of distancing yourself more. So, yeah.
Do you usually try to encourage people to stay in Algeria instead of leaving the country?
Yeah, that's really what I do most of the time, is try to encourage people to stay here, because.
But why are you different? Why do you not feel like everyone else, that maybe you should just leave the country and enjoy your life somewhere else instead of
Because I think in the climate that we are in right now, things are heading into a very nationalist way. I would say the West is headed to a very nationalist path, because of 50 years of not being of demonizing nationalism after Hitler. People are now getting back into being more nationalist, and immigration is going to have a really hard time. That's on one side, is that I don't want to be an immigrant, because there's such a negative connotation with being an immigrant.
Oh my God, I've always felt bad about that when you see people who are immigrants from other countries like Algeria, Iraq, or Syria. They are in Western countries and they are yelled at, they're treated badly, and sometimes they say, this is something that really hurt me, even though when they say, if you were smart, if you were, I don't know, serious about your life or something, you should go back and fix your country instead of coming here and populate ours.
I would be so offended by that, because that is true. I would be offended, I don't know how to say, تغيبني عمري. I would feel sorry for myself that someone would tell me, go back to your country. You know why? I wouldn't even respond, because I would feel like, why should I defend myself here when even in my country I don't even have my rights? I'm not even treated well in my country. How can I expect to be treated well here? So I would feel personally just heartbroken for my country, and for the fact that I had to be an immigrant, because for me it's why do I have to be an immigrant? My country, there is no war in my country, there is no plague and disease, there is no reason for me to absolutely must leave. There's just very bad conditions, and those bad conditions can change.
Do you think that it has to do with the mentality of Algerians?
Of course.
Do they have a share in it? The being lazy or waiting?
That is the number one reason. It's culture. I mean, culture determines everything. Everything. I mean, people talk about religion, race, gender, none of that. It's all about culture. It's about the mentality. It's about how you perceive life. It's about your values.
What are some of the most toxic things about you? Sorry for interrupting you, but I'm trying to be...
About me, toxic things.
No, what are some of the toxic...
Because I have a long length there. I don't think the podcast is enough for toxic things about me.
No, the toxic things about you, toxic things about the culture.
Yeah.
That are leading us to becoming this very aggressive.
See, there are no toxic things. Things are always better. Things are always better in the middle. Okay, and that's why people, I guess, don't. Maybe I don't make that clear. See, I've had the conversation with myself. Am I clear enough, or people just don't get me right? I think it's a mixture of both. See, again, things start in the middle. In the context of talking about Algeria, the problems would be being too collectivist, being too conservative, being too...
Socialist.
Yeah, being too socialist, being too closed off from the world, being so closed off from any change, from any progressiveness, that would be the main problems. And being so collectivist that people don't do what they want, they don't pursue their dreams. Add on to that an economic system that does not allow you to just pursue your dreams and create your own job and be the creative person that you want to be. So I would say that is the issue. And when I say things like that, people just think I'm saying, capitalism is perfect in all time and it's so perfect. But I am saying this in the context of being in Algeria, because I'm saying where we are right now, what we need is to go over more to that side. And that's definitely the issue. And the proof that is the issue is that Algerians immigrate to countries where all of that exists. They want better job opportunities, so they go to capitalist countries. They want more personal freedom, so they go to the liberal countries. That's what people want. That's what people by thousands are waiting as we speak at embassies to get their visas to get the hell out of here to have. So you know what you want. So why don't you just do it here? Because when you ask these same people, what would you like to have done in Algeria? They would not say, we want a capitalist liberal society. They would just be like, yeah, keep it the way it is.
Maybe they don't know about that, because I hear people saying that, if you were living in a Western country, yourself, you would be I don't know who said that, like to me last time, where he said that when your contract, like your job contract, expires in while you're working for a company, the government will pay you while you're looking for some job.
Unemployment check.
I mean, but I find that like, and then I said, for how long? He said like, until you find a job.
Yeah.
So I can stay for a year not working and the government is paying me?
Yeah. But
It's
I don't think, is that in all, not in all
he
countries?
said that
probably
happens
France.
in France.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, France is a welfare country. So.
I'm not sure if that happens.
No,
Does it happen?
I've never lived in France, but that would not surprise me. I mean, they have a lot of like social programs and a lot of social checks. People are basically paid to exist.
Yeah, that reminds me of Ben
Yeah.
Shapiro's expression. He said like socialism is the idea that you deserve as long as you're breathing.
Yeah, but again, France has a free economy. I mean, if you compare it to Algeria, of course, France is considered a part of the capitalist world. It's just it has a lot of social nets and social programs, which I'm not necessarily against. I mean, I support social programs that are not giving people money. Like I'll pay my taxes. I'll pay a lot of them. If that money goes to educational programs for kids. If we give people the tools to succeed in life, not money, I'm not going to give you money, but I will try my best to give you the tools to succeed in life and have the how do you say, like the optimal opportunity or the best chances to succeed.
Yeah, probably that's what it is. When you say that you're pro-capitalism and you're capitalist, people think that you're just against the poor or against social programs, and I think that there is something in the middle. Maybe sometimes I also say I'm a capitalist only because I am pro people building their own businesses and relying on themselves to build things, because when something like is very socialist, then creativity goes down. Yeah, it's like people. And
it baffles me how Algerians could be against someone who defends capitalism. It truly baffles me. I just don't understand why.
Maybe they don't understand it.
I don't think they don't understand it. I think if you, I read someone said there's no such thing as a conservative intellectual. That's because by default all Western intellectuals are socialists. But that's the case because they live in capitalist societies. That's why they are mostly socialists, because they're pulling to the other side. And so for us to be capitalists, that's the norm because we live in a socialist society. So, I mean, what do you want me to do? Do you want me to defend socialism? Do you want more regulations? What do you want? Do you want more free things? Everything is free. I mean, what do you expect me to defend? I don't understand. Obviously, I am going to defend more freedom, more liberty, more autonomy to the people. That's the only reasonable thing to defend. I don't understand why people.
And there are some things that are really clear. They don't need debate. They're just obvious. It's obviously wrong, or it's obviously right. Like for example, and sometimes they spark debates, and it baffles me as well. Like for example, the girl who was jogging. I don't know. It was like 2 years ago or 3 years ago. Was jogging in Sublet, and then someone assaulted her or something, and then she was crying, making a video.
I think I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, and then people started debating whether she's supposed to be jogging there or not.
Yeah.
There should be no debate about that.
Yeah.
Like you're not supposed to. It's obviously wrong that you shouldn't assault someone who is jogging.
You shouldn't assault someone, period.
Yeah, exactly.
There was recently also this model who was viciously attacked by an athlete. I don't know if you've seen that. I guess they're friends, and she attacked her. She was. Have you seen it? Yeah, she had bruises on her face, and people in the comments were saying, "Well, what did you do to her? What did you? I'm sure you did something to her for her to completely dismantle your face."
Yeah, assuming someone I don't know.
Yeah, but even if she did something to her, like violence is never a reasonable answer to anything. It's never a solution to anything, and so we need to stop normalizing
in
violence.
the case of the girl, it has nothing to do with the gender. So if a guy was assaulted, was jogging, and someone, then a group of men. That's okay.
Yeah.
Probably he's not going to cry and do a video because everyone's going to laugh at him.
Yeah.
But maybe he's powerless. He doesn't have anyone to defend him.
Yeah.
There are a group of guys assaulting him. You should be against those behaviors, period, regardless of the gender.
Oh, we normalize violence. I mean, we have a lot of Algerian movies where you don't find a kiss, but you find a man slapping a woman. That's normal. Like, you know the scene in Mad In? He just slaps her. And we have many movies like this where girls are getting slapped. How is that normal? He just slapped a woman. Like, that is... insane. Why are you showing that on TV? But that's normal. But if you see not even a kiss, just hand touching, people would be like, oh, harma, no, don't do that. It's like, okay, violence should not be accepted either. Okay, I understand. You don't want to see a kiss. Fine, I'll give it to you. Conservative society, animag. But why
we should also speak about the other things.
We should, yeah, because I don't want to what about go all whataboutism about it. But okay, I understand. You don't want to see the kisses, but I think violence is even worse than that. So we need to stop normalizing violence, especially against women. Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what are the next goals of yours before we wrap this?
Really?
podcast?
How long have you been talking? Don't say an hour. It's been an hour?
No, it's like 15 minutes, I guess.
15 minutes? All right. Yes, so is the question? Sorry.
What are your next goals?
My next goals? I think I am right now like the rest of the world. I'm just trying to figure things out after COVID, if we can even say it's after COVID. I had many plans. I've had many things I wanted to do, and everything just got cut off. So to be honest, for the moment, I'm focusing on my mental health.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to survive day by day, hoping I can get back to work because I haven't been working. I'm an English teacher, so schools were shut down. We have not been working, and things have been really, really hard. I would like to get back on my podcast, do more podcasts, definitely create more content, and obviously, I mean, I don't really talk about work, but I definitely have some business ideas for the future that I want I want to enable, I guess, the youth to have more dialogue and to share ideas. And I see a lot of people thirsty for that. People are like longing for conversations and exchange, and I would like to do something to be able to provide that for them. Definitely.
All right, sounds cool. It's such a noble goal. Okay, Rania, it's been great talking to you.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye, guys.